lovely ladies and gentlemen. Good morning or good evening to you, depending on what place in the world you live in. Karen Bartley here, just coming live from Cherry Hive, Blossoming Confidence for Business Women. Although we're talking about business women on this show, it is on my profile. So the great thing is that things that we talk about will probably be relevant to you guys too. So please do tune in if you find it useful. We talk about tools, tips, techniques, technologies, all sorts of things, and most important, talent, because everyone has a talent. Everyone does something well, and you don't always think you do it well, but you do. You are someone who has an ability to do something well, whether it needs a bit of practice or a bit more kind of technique to it. We all have things that we do well. Now, on today's show, we have a wonderful special guest, Melly Stewart, who's going to be joining us. And she actually helps people to create emotional connections with their clients through videos. She's also a photographer, and so she has got many talents, lots and lots of talents that she's going to be able to share with us. I am just going to, sorry, I keep looking this way because I'm trying to find the one on the screen so I can make sure that the audio is actually working today, because yesterday we had a lot of gremlins with the audio not working too well. So today I just want to check that the audio is working. If anyone is out there and you're listening, if you can just give me a shout out to say that the audio is indeed happening, that would be very awesome. Truly awesome. It's way down here. Where's it gone? I can't find it. Can't find it on my profile. Here we go. There we go. So I'm going to have a quick little. Yeah, it is working. There is a delay, as usual. Technology is kind of at play here. We can't control that, but there is a little bit of a delay. So I'm going to welcome my guest in, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about how to create emotional, touching stories to promote our businesses. So welcome, Melly Stewart. Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you, lovely? Thank you so much for having me here.
No bother. You know what? It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to talk about video because it's something that I'm really interested in, and I find it that three-dimensional element and that connection you can have with your people is, for me, it's always been something I'm interested in, but more so now, I think, because it's become something that a lot of people are interested in as well.
It's becoming the medium of choice when it comes to social media, websites. People don't have the time to read anymore. They just want the information as quickly as possible, and what's the easiest way to do it than just tell them?
Absolutely. And so tell us a bit about you and what got you into, apart from the fact it's the thing of the moment, what is it about you that connected with, helping people to create video, to create those emotional stories?
Well, for me, it kind of started as a child. I was one of those awkward kids who'd never really fit in, and I wanted to know who people were. So this little kid walking around asking people the big questions made others very uncomfortable. And I started hiding in my books because I found in stories I could connect with the character. I could hear their thoughts. I could feel their emotions with them. Yeah. And I got that connection, that deep connection that I wanted. And then as I grew up, as you do, you get sucked into corporate world and no emotional connection there at all. And I couldn't hack it anymore. I went, I need something deeper than this. So I started my own business. I went into photography and absolutely loved it. I was doing child and family photography for many, many years. And I loved the connection that I could get with the clients. But what I found was the images fell flat if there was no emotion being portrayed. Sure. So I found so much of my job as a photographer was getting them to feel something before I pressed the shutter. And as I got further in, I realized that a photo wasn't enough to capture these people's stories.
Sure.
And it progressed into videography. And I started looking around the video world and realized there was a lot of videographers out there who were doing the sales pitch. So lots and lots of people just going, this is what I offer, here's the facts and benefits, and now you're going to buy my product. And it felt soulless to me.
Sure, yeah.
I like that deep connection. I want that heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized it was something I did naturally. So I was going to smash the things I do naturally together.
Awesome.
And yeah, here I am with my video storytelling, and it's the way forward, I believe, for business. We're sick of being sold at. Society wants connection.
Absolutely.
And as long as you're doing that in your videos, you're spot on.
So a lot of what you've learned from photography, I guess, you're able to pull through to this kind of new project for you, because to be able to enable people, and I've been at the other side of a camera and having photographs taken, and it's the most scary thing. You feel very vulnerable, you feel very wooden, and it feels awkward, actually, to be on the receiving end of having your picture taken. And I know a lot of people absolutely hate it and dread it. So what is it that you're able to do to make people feel at ease and make it an enjoyable process, or even something to endure at least, tolerate rather than enjoy? But because you've got to bring the best out of people, haven't you, on a picture? Otherwise it looks awful.
And it comes back to that connection. It's like, I need to have that connection with the person in front of the camera, and I need to give them a safe space to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So one of my big things is being real and raw and being vulnerable with whoever you're talking to.
Sure.
And vulnerable has some bad connotations at the moment, but I think vulnerability is a beautiful thing because it means you can be real with people. So I would do that with the people in front of the camera. They would be a bit stressed, and I'd admit, I go, yes, I know you're a little stressed right now, and if I was in your position, I completely get it. So let's not talk about the stress. Tell me something that makes you feel good. Tell me about a time you guys as a family went and did this. How did that make you feel? And then getting people's mind off what you're actually doing. So, and it's something I intuitively do. I'm very good at just pulling stories out of people. I work very closely with another lady, and we did an expo recently. And afterwards she said, there's something about you. People just gravitate to you and they want to tell you everything. And I'm like, I know, that's my superpower.
It sounds like you ought to be a therapist rather than a photographer. But, I think that's the skills of a super duper photographer, is to be able to do that. It is such a skill to have that ability to. And how did you build that? So that's just something innate that you've just kind of been brought up with, that you felt you've always had, or have you had to build that skill of building that quick rapport with people that you've only just met, really?
I've always had it. I always make friends very quickly and very easily. And I think being intuitive, I can pick up on other people's emotions. So I get how they're feeling, and I adjust very quickly to meet people where they're at. But it hasn't always been easy, especially when you're working with children. That was like, what do they say? Don't work with children or animals.
Correct.
And then with kids, their emotions change so quickly. You have to learn to adapt with them. So then when I progressed out of the child and family field into working with business owners, that same sort of adaptability came with me. And it made it so much easier to connect with women who I predominantly work with, and connecting with their emotions and how they're feeling, and being able to pull out a story that way. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And probably why you've done so well with it, because I think, like us as therapists, you have to be able to build that rapport super quick. You have very little time. You don't tend to have any preamble prior to that session, and not a lot of it anyway. And to bring the best out of someone and get to know their story, actually, and things that kind of make their face light up, things that make them smile quite naturally without having to even think about it. That is a pretty awesome skill that you've got there.
And the key to it, I'll give you a little tip here. The key to it is actually being vulnerable with them first.
Sure. Okay.
So
how do you do that? How do you be vulnerable first?
it's about giving them something, and like even if it's an emotion, a thought, a feeling, and giving that to them and saying, look, I'm trusting you to look after this feeling that I'm giving you right now.
Sure.
And then they feel safe because you've handed some of your power over to them. I think in the business world, there's a lot of power playing. It's, I've got the control in this situation, so I know exactly where I'm taking you. But I think if you're vulnerable and say, look, I have no idea where we're going with this, let's just see how it goes.
And there is
that over.
Yeah. And there is, I felt completely powerless, I have to say, being on the receiving end of a photographer's camera, because I didn't know what the end product was going to show me as. So that in that sense, you feel very disempowered with the idea of what is this photographer going to, are they going to show the best side of me, or am I going to kind of come out of this feeling, you know, oh no, I didn't want that kind of picture to be shown, you know what I mean? So that you're completely right. That's how it feels. And you've got it. You've got that deep empathy with your people that says, I know you. I know what you're feeling. I know what you're going through. I'm here to help you and trying to get down to their level, isn't it?
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. Because everyone's got that insecurity. And I find, especially with videography, after every video session I do, the client always asks the same question. Was that any good, or was I any good?
Sure.
And that to me says the heart of what we're thinking. We're like, we're not good enough. So if you're giving people the power and telling them you are perfect the way you are, you don't need to be anything more, just be yourself, and I'm giving you the space to just be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just do their thing and then I just record it. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and I guess more so with adults, because the older we get, the more kind of insecure we get about ourselves. I think as kids, there's a lot of they're very disinhibited. They're very kind of just, they tell it how it is. They do what they want. Pretty a lot of id like kind of going on. And as we get older, we tend to be super kind of conscious of what will people think about me? What will this look like? You know, that kind of so that it's kind of a tricky one. It's a tricky one. You do a tricky job. You really do.
Well, I always like to bring people back into their superpowers by finding the things where they were told they were too much.
Sure.
So, you know, as you're growing up, you're told you're too loud, you're too bossy, you're too sensitive, you're too opinionated. And then I like looking at them and flipping them and claiming back that power. So if you were too bossy, no, you're a leader. There is nothing wrong with being a leader. If you're too sensitive, no, you care deeply for others and you are easily able to express your emotions. That's a phenomenal gift. Why would you take that as a negative? Too opinionated, right. I can share my thoughts. What's wrong with that?
You're very right. To fit into the system, you're not allowed to be someone who is, you know, boasting about what they do and is bigger than what they think they are. And it kind of, we're always kind of pulled down to size, aren't we? And told, fit in, do what everyone else is doing. Don't try and stand above everyone else.
And I think that's wrong. We all have our own unique gifts. And we need to show that to the world because that's what attracts people to us.
Yes.
As long as you're being yourself, you're being real, you're speaking from the heart, people either love you or they don't. And if they don't, they're not your people. Let them go.
Yeah. Well, there's a big thing about being authentic on social media these days. And I kind of like that. I like that idea that people aren't trying to big themselves up to, you know, such a big super ego that they are, that they're trying to be much bigger than everyone else, even, you know, and it kind of makes everyone else feel, well, I can't possibly do that. It's not something I can aspire to be, because how could I ever do that when you're earning this amount or you've got that many things going on or whatever. And I think it's nice that everyone's kind of saying, you know, be your authentic self, and then the things will follow. People will enjoy what you do, and because you are who you are, you're not trying to be everyone else.
Exactly. And I think that's finally flowing into the business community, and business itself is changing. So the last probably 15, 20 years, it's been very corporate mindset in the business world as well. And now we've all come in, especially women are coming into the business world and going, I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
And I want something that's going to work well for me. So we're leaders, but we're leading with our people beside us. We're not standing in front of people managing anymore.
Absolutely.
So it's more as a community, let's make this happen, which is where all the collaborations are coming out. And I think it's a beautiful thing that there's community in the business world now.
Yep, absolutely. I like it too.
It's fun. It's fun. I love when things change like this.
It is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. And it's a great time, I think, to be in business. So if people want to go one step further, so they've got over that idea that they can be okay on photographs. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to I can cope with this. It's not a great experience, but I can cope with this.
Yeah.
What then do they need to be able to take themselves to the next level, which is basically to be dynamic, three-dimensional, and actually talk about what they do? Like, that is another whole different ball game, isn't it?
It is. And it's, when you first start, it is very confronting. I will not deny that. When I first started with videos, I was using videos as a marketing tool for my photography business. And I don't think my first videos will ever see the light of day. It's very confronting to have to look at yourself and see things that you're picking about yourself. Yeah. And then after 4 or 5 videos, you realize that that's exactly who you are. And you either accept this or you're going to get depressed. And I think as entrepreneurs, we're all about personal growth. We're all about expanding and becoming bigger than where we're at now. That it's a really fast track journey for your own personal growth and self-acceptance. So one of the first things I say to a lot of clients is, if you're not comfortable in front of the camera and doing videos yet, just start and just practice. Okay. One of the best things is set yourself a 12-hour challenge. So do a video at the beginning of the day, and every hour just keep doing another video, even just a short 1-2 minute video. Say whatever is on your mind. Then at the end of the day, watch your first video and your last video and watch how much you've improved in that short amount of time. Because you become comfortable in your own skin and you just speak from the heart then.
You know, that's awesome. That is some good tips, because the thing is that a lot of people struggle with the idea of seeing themselves, never mind having something decent to talk about.
Yes.
And then there's all the technological issues to think about in terms of lighting, sound, and, the background. Where am I going to do this? Where am I going to have a space? I mean, we were talking before we came on about how you create a space that's conducive to doing this, right? Because, families, we all run businesses, and we have phones that ring, and we have people knock on doors and all that kind of stuff. Logistically, it can seem an overwhelming task, can't it, for people to even start this kind of process?
Yeah. And I find people stop themselves or give themselves the excuse that the lighting's not right, the sound's not right, the background's not right. Yeah. But they're forgetting the main thing, which is getting your message out in the first place.
That's right.
So yes, all those things are important, but they are not as important as the message. So get comfortable first, get your message out first, then start tweaking and making things better once you've got that comfortable state in front of the camera.
That's right. We've got some wonderful people have joined us. We've got Angela, who says, hello. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Angela.
Thanks for joining us. We also have Melissa, who says, Melissa Groom, who is enjoying this interview, ladies.
Hey,
well done. And she also says, great advice, Melly.
Thank you.
It is super advice. And what I would say is, like you say, it's about getting started. A lot of people don't even get off the starting blocks because they see it as an overwhelming thing. And I like how you there broke it down. You broke it down into just get on there. Don't worry about everything else. Practice in your own space. and just do video after video after video until you feel comfortable even just seeing yourself, hearing your own voice, right? That can be a massive barrier for people that don't have the confidence to do this kind of thing. And then build it up from there. Think about, well, what content. I'm just going to talk about anything right now. I'm just going to talk a load of rubbish, in fact. I don't really care, just so I can see myself on screen and get used to seeing myself on screen. Next step is, let me think about something useful to talk about that someone would like to hear, something valuable that I can tell someone else about what I do or who I am or whatever.
Exactly.
And then kind of building it up slowly from there, isn't it?
Yes. So once they've got that confidence, once they've got the technical elements, then we can move into, well, what are you going to say, which is actually going to connect you with the viewers that you want to attract.
Sure.
So that's when the strategy starts coming in, once the confidence is there. Because otherwise, it's the whole, you've got to be confident to connect.
Yes.
But you can't be inauthentic in your confidence. It's got to be real.
Yeah.
So you've got to be comfortable with who you are and what you're saying.
That's absolutely spot on.
Exactly.
Totally spot on.
So once we get to that point, then we can start saying, well, what do your people want to hear from you? What do they need from you? Let's work out what to say.
So at what point, Melly, would you come in to help someone? Because this is something now you're doing as a business. So at what point would you come in? At what point would you start taking a client on to be able to create a video? Do you work with them throughout the whole process of a point where their baseline is pretty low and they're not even able to see themselves on video? Or do you come in at a point where you're able to actually work with them on the strategy and they've already got that strategy, maybe even to be able to tell that story?
All of it. I actually have a free group and I run a 5-day story challenge every month. So that goes through the basics, getting your confidence up, putting your call to actions in, being comfortable in the camera, on front of the camera, and it's a safe place to practice. And it's so beautiful. Every time I run it, the amazing women that come on and they're so real and go, I really don't know what to say. I'm really scared to do this, but here I am, I'm trying. And then all the support, everyone shows each other going, I feel the same way, but thank you. And then watching them from that first video to the last one in just 5 days is phenomenal.
Wow, that is awesome. In 5 days to be able to get to that point.
In 5 days, yeah. And it's just giving them that space and the next little tip to practice on. So by the 5 days, if they don't have the confidence, then they stick around for the next one and they can keep sticking around as long as they need to until they've got that confidence.
Sure.
And then I can step in from there. So after that, I've got a paid program where I lay it all out for them and give them the strategy. Then I can also do the strategies for them. And I've got done for you services. So I've got a team who can come to you and do all the videoing and I help with the strategies. And it really depends on where that person is at and whether I connect with them. I'm very particular with who I work with.
Okay. But the good thing is that you will start from quite a low baseline and you will mentor them to get to the point where they can actually get the product at the point where they can actually, well, the end product, put the end product out there to sell their story and promote their business.
And it depends on who they are. If they're comfortable with the technological side of things, then I'm not going to bother showing them, like going into a lot of detail. They're going to get it quickly. So why spend 6 months teaching them something they already know? Whereas for other people, that could be the biggest challenge. Maybe they're a great public speaker and just talking to people is their power. Yeah. But cameras scares the hell out of them. So it's like, okay, well, let's focus on working with your camera skills and you'll be fine.
Okay, so let's now assume they have the camera skills in place. They have the confidence to get on camera. They are looking now at building the strategy. How do you help and enable women, men as well, I suppose, if you're working with men? You do work with both, right?
Yes.
How do you help them to create an emotional story? What's the strategy for that?
Well, the strategy is finding their audience and what their audience needs from them, but not just the how-tos and the tips, but emotionally, what does your audience need from you? A lot of the women I work with, and men as well, they want permission to be themselves. They want to know that they are worthy of having their message told and that someone will listen to them. Okay. So a lot of what I put out in the world is my own stories or my clients' stories around that self-worth and around that emotional need. So it's not necessarily saying, here's your how to do video, which of course is there, but it's how to do video and feel good about doing it because you are awesome and your message needs to be put out into the world. So the strategies all come back to exactly who you're working with. Okay. And sometimes it can take a little bit to define that market and define exactly what your people need. And it's not always just a quick poll, which a lot of businesses have this tendency to send out a survey and go fill out the survey and then base their business off a survey. But what people think they want and what they actually want are two different things. Okay. So I like to go get the survey if that's what you're more comfortable with, but now let's actually pick apart that survey and look at the underlying messages of each of those responses. And it's those underlying messages, the things we don't say, they're the key to really connecting with your people.
Have you got any stories that you can tell us with people that you work with? We don't have to mention people's names or businesses, but have you got any examples of if people are still struggling to know how to create that emotional story and connect with their people? Have you got any examples of that you can share that people can kind of maybe connect to a bit better?
Oh, most definitely. I work very closely with a lawyer. And as you know, most lawyers are here's the facts and this is how it goes. I absolutely love this lady, and she was a bit resistant at first to putting stories out, adding emotion into such a highly detailed field.
Sure. And
she did it. She trusted me. We got her stories out. She is so comfortable in front of the camera now, and people connect with her instantly. Right. She's found a story which brings it back to the reason she is a lawyer in the first place.
Okay.
So she tells this story, and every time I hear it, I'm just like, I love you even more. And watching her give these presentations where she tells that story and then goes into what she's doing, the tips and tricks. Yeah. People love her and connect with her on an emotional level before she's giving that information.
And you would think a lawyer on social media or wherever who is would be the last person to create an emotional connection, because it's such a hard-nosed business to be in, right?
It is. And it's like accountants. Accountants could do the exact same thing. And I say accountancy because I do have an accountancy background. Sure. And that was my corporate world, my corporate life. And I was always told I was the happy accountant. And all my clients are going, what are you doing here? You don't fit here. And I realize now, looking back, it was the same thing. I was connecting with them, and they were so used to an accountant who was just saying, here's the facts, here's the figures.
Sure. Yeah.
Whereas I was more like, oh, you did a really good month here. What happened? Tell me, how'd you feel? So, yeah, everything is about bringing that emotion back into it and not being afraid that there's emotion. Like, emotion isn't a bad thing. It's a really good thing.
Yeah, I should be back very soon. Lots of thoughts going on, but Karen's disappeared, so I'm just going to put you on for a sec while I get me back. Yes, because a lot of people in businesses will be thinking, well, mine is so dry. What the heck am I supposed to talk about? Like, I'm just facts, figures. I just tell people how it is. I'm just going to refresh because I think we've lost things. Can you hear me, Melly, yet?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Awesome. good old technological gremlins. And these are the kind of things I think that people have to deal with, right? Because, well, they don't. If they hire someone like you have to deal with it.
I take that stress for you.
Which is the great thing of outsourcing, because if you're not very good at technology, and it's not your kind of forte, it's not something you're good at, then hand it over to someone else, outsource that skill of someone who has the benefit of the knowledge of the skills to be able to do all that stuff. And it relieves you of all the madness and the stress. And all you do is you do what you know well, which is talk about your business, but just talk about it in a more emotional way where it connects with people on a different level to what you normally connecting with them.
Exactly. It's about taking it deeper. So I always say our business is surface level, but then we've got to take it deeper to actually connect with your people.
Sure. So I'm going to put some links up after this broadcast of how people can get hold of you. Is your group just for ladies, or is it for men as well?
Men as well, as long as you are heart-centered. Heart-centered, yes. So I'm very cautious with who I work with. Being intuitive, I do get drained by people quite easily. So I've put that barrier in place to protect myself. Sure. And I find I attract a lot of people who are the same. So, if you don't fit, I will let you know in a very nice way.
Well, that's super important, because you're not going to be the best person for them to be working with on a video if you don't have that personal connection with them. And I'm the same as a therapist or a trainer. It's exactly the same. You know, there's a lot of people out there that will be following in your footsteps and doing what you do. And, they've got a choice. They have to choose the person that's going to benefit them the most and get the best out of them. And that's not necessarily you or I in terms of the people we're working with.
And I do find in business, I think women especially are really bad at setting those boundaries. We want to be loved. We want to be liked. Yeah. And we do it at the detriment of ourselves and our own sanity. Yeah. And when we place those boundaries and say, no, this is how I work and how that supports me. You don't fit within these. Thank you. I appreciate that you've come to me, but let me find you someone else who I know will serve you better than I can. Yeah, and honoring that within ourselves. It's not easy. Like, it sounds easy to say. It's so not easy to do.
Yeah, well, in a sense, it's doing the best thing for you and your business, because then you're seen as someone who is being honest, transparent, and open, and not just there just to take people's money. You're doing that because you want to work with people who you're going to get the best out of.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm going to put it is. It's awesome. I'm loving what you're doing, Melly. I really am, and I'm super going to be interested to follow you and see what goes on with the watch some of these videos that you create. Help people to create. Obviously you're part of a process, so you can't do it without the other person, for sure. It's a partnership. But I'm going to be watching, because I think it's the way to go. In fact, I know it's the way to go right now. It is. You're right on the money. You're right on the mark.
It's all in the story. That's where emotions are. That's why we're attracted to movies and TV shows and books. There's a storyline behind it. You get involved in the characters. So why don't we share our own stories?
Correct. I can't agree with you more. So I'm going to put your links up after the broadcast.
Thank you.
I think it's gone super well today. I'm really pleased you could join us, and thanks so much for sharing your story as well, because we all have great stories to tell, and it's what we do. It's why we do what we do, isn't it?
Exactly. And I want to hear those stories, so connect with me.
Yes, everyone, connect with Melly and find out what she gets up to and how you can create your very own emotional strategy for, for your videos to connect with your people better.
Beautiful.
Thanks, so Melly. I look forward to following you and talking to you more later.
Have a good day. Much, lovely. Mwah.
Bye. Mwah. Bye.